Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about save so much time and effort. UberEats Driver shows how to auto-decline customers with low tips. So there are actually a bunch of tools available out there that actually assist gig workers, one of which is the one that this driver is showing. And honestly, I'm glad that some of the tools that we're talking about that really help gig workers are going viral in this way. So with that said, I want to go over what is being said in this article, how it actually is for gig workers, and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. Since the beginning of the pandemic, tipping culture and food delivery service have been at the center of debate in the United States. Consumers are worried whether they're tipping enough, too much, or if a tip is necessary at all. Well, first off, the tipping standards based on what I was raised upon, this is not everybody, this is the standards in which I was raised upon, is $5 or 20% of the value of the order, whichever is higher. It doesn't mean that it's going to be accepted based on the total value of the order, because some drivers actually can't accept lowball offers, and some of that has to do with the amount of miles driven and things like that. But on the flip side of that, if you're the kind of customer that doesn't tip at all, we're just not going to work with you. It's really that simple. Now, I didn't say start tipping your drivers if you aren't the kind of customer to do that already. No. I'd rather you keep yourselves exposed. Keep not tipping your drivers so I don't have to work with you. The customers that choose not to tip are the same customers that cause unnecessary contract violations, put our accounts in danger, attack our ratings for no reason at all, and then just become a giant hassle of a customer. Keep not tipping your driver so we can work with quality customers that are worth working with. TikTok user Shu, the Themillennialdasher, often shares his experiences as an UberEats and DoorDash driver on the platform. In a recent video, Shu exposed a way to weed out customers whose tips don't meet his standards. I'm going to leave his TikTok as well as his profile in the description so you can develop your own opinions on the subject. But let's be clear about one thing that this guy is saying. It's not just the tips that matter, it's the base pay, dollars to mile ratio. There's a lot more that goes into it, but usually the deciding factor is the tip. It's not always, but it is a lot of the time. This is what happens when you don't tip your delivery drivers. You get auto decline, the video's caption reads. Oh yeah, that's another risk too. Now we're so tired of dealing with customers that don't tip that we'd rather just auto decline you to begin with. We don't even want to think about you. Using apps like Para and Maximo, drivers can set preferences for a minimum order amount and a maximum mileage distance. For example, Shu set his minimum order amount to $7, at least $2 a mile, and no more than a 20-mile drive, which are fair standards overall. The only thing I would say is a 20-mile drive. I don't think I've ever had a 20-mile drive on a single order. Sure, there are stacked orders that fit that parameter, but that being said, I almost never deal with that. You could set it however you'd like, and Para will decline any order that doesn't meet your requirements, Shu wrote in the response to a user question. All right, so before we go deeper into this article, I do want to be clear about something. Para does go against the TOS of a lot of these gig companies. Does that mean you shouldn't use them? That means you should be aware of the risk. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. That's up to your discretion as a driver. But if you're going to use them, just understand using them go against the TOS. Will that deactivate you? There's a very small chance, but out of all of the people that used Para, nobody got deactivated for it. In fact, in most cases, DoorDash and UberEats and Grubhub went after Para long before they went after us. So I don't even think they ever gone after us. And of course, if I'm wrong and you've been on Para and got deactivated, let me know in the comments. I am more than willing to listen. In the video, the Para app began eliminating orders that didn't meet Shu's preferences. However, according to user comments and Shu's response to a question, the Para app seems to be down for DoorDash drivers as of the time of this writing. DoorDash and Para have been going at it for a long time because Para was actually really good and was able to see the hidden tips upon acceptance, which was really cool. Now they don't have that anymore because DoorDash wised up. While delivery drivers in the comment section agreed with auto-declining customers who don't tip, other users users criticize tipping culture and food delivery services. What else is new? Tipping culture in the USA is ridiculous. They should remove all payment info until you complete the order, one user wrote. You know, if you don't like the services, you could just not use them. Like, if you don't like services that ask for tips, just don't use them. Doesn't matter if it's food delivery or restaurants or whatever. If you don't like it, just don't use them. Rather just pick up my own food. The price of the convenience isn't worth it, a second stated. You see, that makes sense to me. If you don't like the service, you just don't use it. You just pick up your own food. That's fine. All of us understand in the gig economy. It's why we don't use these services ourselves. Y'all still use delivery apps? Ain't no way I'm paying inflated menu prices plus all the extra charges they got, another commented. Yeah, that's a fair point in itself too. Like, some of the extra charges between the menu and just the overall fees, assuming you're not using their like subscription services like Dash Pass, Uber One, etc. It could be a lot. It could be very expensive very quickly. And it's not one big fee. It's a bunch of little fees that add up very quickly. This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. I like Para as an app. I like them as a company. I like what they're going for, trying to make sure that gig workers have the transparency they deserve. But that being said, I also know that the goals in which they are setting to where they're fighting these companies for transparency, you're expecting people who do the wrong thing so often to suddenly start doing the right thing. And trying to get the wrong person to do the right thing is stressful. It's frustrating. It's a really long uphill fight, and in most cases, it's never won. You're better off just removing yourself from that situation and just moving on. Now, that being said, am I saying you should quit gig apps instead of making money? Absolutely not. I'm saying stop trying to get these people to do the right thing if they're not going to do the right thing. This is why I believe it's better to multi-app, to have as much diversification in your app portfolio as possible. Just start a side hustle so that way you can utilize the gig economy as an income bridge to what would be a long-term goal and not the goal. So you remove your dependence from these gig apps. And when you hit the point where you're tired of them, you can step away from them too. Obviously, that's easier said than done for some people more than others. I know that some people don't have the luxury of starting another side hustle or anything like that. They can't just start a YouTube channel or things like that. So it's going to be a different story for everybody, but it doesn't change the truth. All in all, I agree with Para's mission. I don't know if the means are really right, but if you protest the way that the ones you are protesting against are okay with you protesting as, is that really a protest? Not really. It's why DoorDash strikes never really go well. You have a bunch of people protesting exactly what's okay with by DoorDash, and what happens? No change at all. So maybe this is a good move on Para's part. But all in all, I think that diversification and building a long-term goal and using the gig economy as an income bridge is a more effective method for the individual rather than the entirety of the gig economy. I hope that Para ends up winning at the end of the day, but right now, I just don't see it. But I will say they did create a powerful tool that you can absolutely use for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!